Hi everyone, it's Dexter from AEC, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, Streamline Communication in AEC with Unity Reflect. Elizabeth and John from Unity will be presenting for us. So before we start, we'll go through about AEC. We're all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. AEC Technologies plays a vital role in helping infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach their full potential by delivering complete technology solutions and support services such as education, consulting, and IT managed services. We work with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivities, and achieve excellence. AEC Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by our vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by understanding their challenges and delivering solutions through experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size, nationally and abroad. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today to talk about streamlined communication in AEC with Unity Reflect, specifically about bridging the gap between design and decision makers. Like it was mentioned before, the presenters today will be my colleague, John Fisher, and myself, Elizabeth Guzman. We're both technical specialists here at Unity Technologies. Here's the agenda for today, where we will give an introduction about Unity, some company facts and figures, an introduction to Unity Reflect, and a live product overview of the different use cases and solutions Reflect provides. Any questions you might have during this session, please feel free to add them in the Q&A or chat. We will have time at the end of the webinar to answer your questions live. And then we will close with any remarks, pricing information, and promotion information. To start, for those of you who do not know, Unity is the most widely used real-time 3D development platform in the world. Will enable anyone, for emerging creators to global technology, entertainment, AEC, and manufacturing brands, the most powerful and accessible tools to create, operate, and monetize anything imaginable in the real world. We were founded in the year 2004, and we really have a global presence with about 45 offices in 17 countries. And I would say at this point around closer to 3,500 full-time employees. And yesterday we were concentrating on gaming, but today we're not only doing gaming, but architecture, engineering, construction, of course, film, utility, energy, automotive, aerospace, healthcare, life science, just to name a few. Our users are creating real-time 3D experiences in all these industries using Unity. But what is real-time 3D? Well, it's something that is immersive, it is interactive, it looks real, it acts real. It's like a high-end video game. So with real-time 3D, you can walk through a model, you can open doors, you can move objects, and you can see through walls. And anything you have in the space, the light, the reflections, and the animations is being rendered in real time. So we're actually curious to know companies outside of gaming, specifically in AEC and manufacturing, what they think about the use of real-time 3D. So we conducted a study last year with a company, Forrester, where 97% of the participating AEC manufacturing companies say that they see great potential in real-time 3D. 94% of the companies said that they have invested or are expanding their investment. And on average, companies in AEC see at least 6 potential use cases for real-time technology. However, only 19% are currently doing it. And the ones that are only used in really large models or pretty late in the design process, but this type of implementations are no longer needed. And we understand it is difficult. The process of creating real-time experiences is everything but real-time. And there are many factors. There's a painful data preparation process where it can take days and even weeks of highly technical teams to be able to prepare and optimize all the BIM data for these experiences. So picture the process of like maybe you're starting with a 2D model, you bring that to Revit file for BIM coordination, and you have, let's say, bring that to 3D Max. Then you transfer this information for VR and AR capabilities to another platform. And through all that, you have a vicious cycle applying changes and involving a lot of different people and technology. So it's definitely a painful data preparation process. Second, architects and designers, myself, I'm an architect, are not developers. So very few can code in Unity. So that limits the applications they can use for these type of experiences. Third, while the models are beautifully rendered, the BIM metadata gets lost, which limits the potential of visualization. And as you know, usually the work is done in silos, but not everyone is able to collaborate together and express and give their feedback, which creates a communication breakdown, resulting in a lot of costly mistakes and inefficiencies. That definitely doesn't align in an industry where time is critical and where design projects require thousands of iterations and collaboration across many teams. So what are we doing about it here at Unity? Well, we partnered up with Autodesk to create native plugins inside Revit and Navisworks to seamlessly integrate and facilitate the data transferring and conversion process. And through that collaboration, we have Unity Reflect. What is Unity Reflect? It is a BIM design and coordination solution that connects all project members, decision makers, clients into one immersive, collaborative, real-time platform, regardless of the device you're using, the model size, or the geographic location. You can transfer your BIM data from Revit, Navisworks, SketchUp, and Rhino. We have native plugins inside all those applications into real-time 3D experiences on a range of devices that you can use for augmented reality, VR, allowing you to bridge the gap between design and decision makers. Reflex is a design review and coordination solution that allows for the following. You can communicate design intent with immersive and interactive experiences that allows users to immerse yourself in the design and review process. You can have faster decision making by having data federation and live link. So any changes that we make in the platforms, like changing the materials, removing elements, you can see them apply in Reflect in a matter of seconds. You can also use Reflect in any platform, anywhere, but you can connect multiple stakeholders on the cloud, anywhere they are, so you can tie the office to the field. And last but not least, it is a flexible application that can be customized. So you can customize the experience and have a starting point and launching path for any additional implementations that we don't offer out of the box. So now we're going to give you a live overview of our fall 2020 release of Unity Reflect. Here on my left, I have a Navisworks model, and on the right, I have Reflect. And as you know, with Navisworks is a good tool that improves project reviews and BIM coordination by combining design and construction data into a single model. And here's my Navisworks model, and everything is in there is good, as long as I'm visualizing this with my technical colleagues in a meeting, and we're revising this together. But let's say we're not entering in the meeting the building owner or the client. This is not a good view to them because they will not understand the technicalities behind it. It doesn't look too great, and it's hard to navigate without having any prior training or knowledge of the tool. As you know, you need to, use a wheel, go around the model. Of course, if you're a heavy Navisworks user, you will know the shortcuts of the wheel and the mouse keys and everything. But for other, clients and other users, they require prior training. And you might say, well, the BIM coordinator, the person that uses Navisworks every day, can be the person leading the meeting. It can guide the contractors, the building owners, and the clients. They can annotate the feedback and apply it later. Well, that is not great either because you want your clients, your building owners to be engaged. You want them to be able to see and apply the changes themselves and also feel that their feedback is being valuable. So in contrast, here we have Unity Reflect. And Reflect is an application so much as it is a collaboration environment that enables anyone to get into the model to see how it really is and form an opinion whether it's good or any feedback that your client and users want to give designers. If I want to navigate through the model, I can simply just use my keyboard or my mouse in here to just rotate. I can also fly into the model to a specific space by double clicking. I can lock myself here in the camera view and look around the model. And if I get lost, I can easily go back to that initial view and go to home. So really easy navigation options. And our navigation is so much better because we have worked quite literally with hundreds and hundreds of companies to figure out how to navigate our space. I mean, our history as a game engine makes us uniquely positioned to understand the easy-to-use navigation tools that we provide our users. Now you're probably wondering as well, what about all the BIM information that comes from, all these platforms too? Can I see that in Reflect as well? Yes, so that information is coming through as well. And you can filter by it, you can visualize it, you can hide and show different components, and allows you to visualize the space and the information in a design review easily. Now you probably wonder, well, this is great. I have my platform information. I was able to bring that to Reflect, but what is this process and where does the data get stored? So now we'll show you another example with a Revit model. So for those of you familiar with Revit, you will see the Unity Reflect tab next to the Add-ins tab. And here we have three options. We have the Reflect dashboard, we have the export, and the sync. The export and the sync, as the name implies, allows you to export all the information from the model, geometry, and all the metadata. And the sync establishes a live connection, meaning that any changes I apply here, you're able to see that in Reflect. If you open the dashboard, you're able to see where you can export this information. So we have three places. You can export it locally, so it will store on premises on your laptop, your desktop. You can export it local network. So let's say you're in the office and you want to share this model with your colleagues through the local network. And the last one, you can export this on the cloud. So you can access this everywhere in the construction site. You can tie the office to the field. And about the cloud component, I would like to know that we'll never take your Navisworks model or your Revit file to the cloud. What we take is all the derived data, all the bin information and metadata, and we use it for visualization in Reflect. So you have these three options, local network, and cloud, to be able to export and share your models. Now I have this model linked to the cloud. And instead of me going to show you the different solutions and offerings that Reflect has to offer, on my end, my colleague John, all the way in Buffalo, New York, where I'm located here in Canada, also has access to this model. So now he will share his screen, and we're going to revise together a design review looking at different features and solutions we have with Reflect. So with that, take it away, John.
Thank you, Ellie. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Right. So what if you wanted to have a design review session with customers and stakeholders located all over the world? And what if they're not very technical, or they don't have access to a powerful PC, or they don't know how to use Revit or Navisworks? Well, here with Unity Reflect, you can invite anyone, anywhere, and on any device into that conversation. So here we have the same model that Ellie had up in Revit, now being shown in our Reflect viewer. And it's very easy to navigate with basic keyboard and mouse inputs that would be familiar to anybody who's used them before. You can also see the visualization is much nicer than the presentation that we were getting on the other side. We can also quickly double click to get around the entire space. And without any prior technical training or knowledge, it's very easy to see just visually what the current state of the project is. Now, it's important to note that this isn't just a visualization tool. This actually ties back to the project. So I can see all of the BIM data from the project here in the tool. So I can select different objects and see the ID, category, family, and so forth. It's coming directly from the Revit project hundreds of miles away. And this is important because it allows me to have a conversation with the designers and the more technical users in no ambiguous terms. I can say, for example, if this floor didn't have the right material on it, please change this floor's material to the hardwoods on this specific ID.
Exactly. Like John was mentioning, let's say you had the raw material that it was delivered on site, or you have a purchase order with your contractor that says, this is your same for carpet to hardwood. So on my end, I have access to the Revit model. So I'm going to look for the floor and I'm going to change that to hardwood, and you should be able to see that on John's screen. So now I'm going to Revit, look at the wood flooring type, and I'm going to apply that to the floor.
And there we go. From hundreds of miles away, directly connected to the actual project itself, you can see that not only did the issue get spotted, but I know that my request was heard and understood. And without having to parse through all the technical data of the project, I know that the requested change was made. And it was actually not just captured in some meeting minutes or some notes that somebody might miss or misconstrue later on, but actually updated in the document of record in the actual project itself.
Exactly. And personally, myself as an architect and media engineer, I have been dealing with all these issues. That's why we have so many courses, related to humanities, management, and not only design, right? I know that I have struggled with this. That's like I'm going to guess you also struggle with the same issues where there's been communication happening that results in costly mistakes. Like we started with 2D models, then we do maquettes, then we went to 3D, BIM, and now Reflect is taking this to the next level. So I definitely wish I had that Reflect a long time ago, for sure.
Right. And if you didn't catch this until it was too late, it could, have major impacts on your timeline and your budget. And all that it took to fix it and catch it was to make sure that everybody was involved in the conversation, because somebody who might not be, a technical user, like a customer or building owner, they can easily see the current state and say, no, actually, this should be changed to this. And because you involved them in the conversation, it was caught early. Now, we don't just have the ability to just select on the objects. With the BIM data available, we can also use that to highlight different categories of things, like, for example, the ceilings and doors. But we can also turn things on and off easily. For example, this particular model is broken out by phases of the project. So we can actually step it back to different phases of the project very easily. And we can take this a step further if we're trying to have a conversation based on the layout of the design, where we can actually also turn off the materials easily to get more of a white card view so that you can focus your meetings on the task at hand. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been in meetings where it got bogged down in the trivialities, where people are talking about the color of a wall, which might not be important right now. It could be important later on, but when you're actually working on the layout, this allows you to keep on task and focus on what's on the agenda. Now, we can just as easily turn these things back on. And we can also add in the interior lighting. This could be important if you're working with the folks that are responsible for the lighting, to get a sense of what it might look like not lit by natural light. And to that end, we also offer our sun study tool, which once you know the location of your build, you can put in the latitude and longitude of anywhere in the world, and also the time of year. And then using this dial or slider, you can actually set the time of day and get the accurate sun location and lighting conditions for that location and that time of day and time of year. So for example, at about 6 o'clock, we've got a lot of sun on that far wall. And maybe we realize we don't want to allow that sun pouring into these doors at that particular time of day. That also led us to add these sunshades over here, which I can turn them on and off easily to show the impact, which is also the value of the real time, because the changes that we make, I can see immediately while we're working on it. And I can see the impact of the change would have on the lighting. This also could be important if you're in an urban environment and you have other buildings nearby that might be casting a shadow on your building, or your building might be casting a shadow on a park. And be able to catch that as early as possible can avoid really costly changes that potentially could come up later. Now, while this is all great, we did mention that this was also on every device, and what we've seen so far has all been on the desktop version of Reflect. So one of the other views we also offer is the ability to see the same model in virtual reality. So here's the same model being viewed in the Oculus Rift VR headset. It's important to note that it didn't require any additional work. The same model, same data, with one click in the available headset, you're able to put it on and look around in the space. And VR is a very unique perspective on the building, because with true stereoscopic 3D rendering, you can actually feel scale. You can feel how far away that wall is or how tight the hallway is. It gives you a real sense of presence and understanding of what it might actually be like to stand there in the finished product. And just because it's a very intuitive and unique view doesn't mean it lacks any functionality. All the functionality we showed so far, with the ability to select or filter or use the sun study tool, they're all available in VR as well. And this is a real easy way to, with the available hardware, really build up some excitement for the project, because people can get a real sense of what it might be like when it's done and what it might actually be like to stand there. And it doesn't require any technical training to use it. You basically can put it on your head and look around like you naturally do all the time. And while this is a really exciting view, we do recognize that not everybody has access to VR headsets. But what they do typically have access to are mobile devices. So here is the same model again, now being viewed on a mobile device. And we can see that we have all the same functionality that we mentioned before, the ability to select objects and see the BIM data. But being able to be viewed on a mobile device really allows you to connect the field to the office, or you can really be anywhere and on any device, the Android or iOS, and load the project up and get involved in that conversation from anywhere. Now, the first question that typically comes up when we talk about mobile devices is, how are we going to load my gigantic architectural model onto a mobile device? And to that, I will show loading a slightly larger model than this one live. So here we are seeing Reflect's progressive streaming algorithm. This allows us to load the model iteratively, so you can get in and start interacting with the model as quickly as possible. It will all load eventually, but it allows you to load it a little bit at a time and focusing on the things that are directly in front of you first, so you can get in with, and start interacting with the minimal amount of friction. It also allows us to streamline it to keep it very lightweight so that it will run on all these other devices. I mentioned that this model is also slightly larger than the one before because this also incorporates the federated data from Navisworks, which allows us to filter on things like the HVAC specifically, or the structural data, and have a real easy understanding on it, potentially if there's clashes. And now we also offer the ability to use this in augmented reality. So with that, I will place the model on my floor, and we can see here the same model thrown into the room that I'm in. This requires literally no technical skills. You can just point your mold device in any direction and be able to see the project from any angle. You can still filter on everything and see things just like we'd seen before. And you can also take it to the point where you can step up the scale and get a view very similar to what we saw in the VR, taking it all the way up to even 1:1 scale. So that we can see what it might be like to stand there, being viewed simply through a mobile device anywhere. And so with all this, as you can see, Unity Reflect allows you to connect all your project members on one immersive, collaborative, real-time platform, regardless of device, model size, geographic location, technical expertise, or anything like that. You can use desktop, laptop, VR headset, mobile devices, even the tabletop AR to bridge the gap between design and construction. And relying on the older design review models that exclude your remote workers or your non-technical stakeholders, you're opening yourself up to missed communications and increasing the risks of your project. By providing them an accessible and unified view, you can involve anyone, anywhere, on any device, and getting their insight not only saves you time and money that could be lost on rework, but it engages them and grants them ownership in the project and grows their excitement for your work, because when they're involved in the discussion, now it's their project too. Right, Ellie?
Exactly. And building on John's point, as you saw, are the interfaces, so like for Revit or Navisworks, really the best way to show people what a design looks like? Is it a single random frame or a camera path the best way to show a design review and again, everyone involved? Like you have to think of things. So how do you communicate with your customers? How they providing your feedback? Have you struggled to express your designs and feedback for that? So as you saw, Reflect provides you with all the interface and the tools to solve all those issues. And it's the solution to answer all those questions.
Right. And furthermore, it's important to add that Unity Reflex is built with Unity, which can be used to build almost anything. So it's completely extensible. With Unity Pro, you can take Unity Reflect and build on any tools or features that maybe you're watching the presentation, like, oh, I wish it did that, or I wish it did this. You can think of all those things you could potentially add on or customize, and you can do that and build on top of the platform yourself. And if you don't have developers on staff, you can work with your resellers to get those customizations.
Exactly. And to continue on that, like John was mentioning, you can unite Unity Reflect plus Unity Pro to further customize the experience. So what we presented as of now is what we offer out of the box. So we have, of course, the third plugins such as Navisworks, Revit, SketchUp, and Rhino. We take all that information on premises, on the cloud, and now you can bring that to Unity Pro to further customize what we have offered with Unity Reflect. Like, for example, like John was mentioning, we have for the VR experience, the Oculus Rift out of the box. And for the customization purposes, you can want to have to use the Microsoft HoloLens or the 25 plus applications we have in Unity Pro. Another example of how you can use Unity Pro and Unity Reflect combined, you can brand the experience. So you can create a custom look for your teams or clients by, adding the logo, adding the project information to the project images. Also, you can build custom viewers and applications like for AR and VR. So here we have an example from one of our client shop architects where they're overlaying AR content into real construction site. Another example of customization that you can have in Unity Reflect plus Unity Pro is you can create photorealistic environments to achieve high visual fidelity for projects. Like for many use cases, the level of rendering quality that Unity Reflect provides will be more than sufficient for reviewing projects, but in other instances, you might want to attend to win a bid or a client review, where you would like to need a more polished model, and you can achieve that with Unity Pro. Personally, as an architect, I'm really excited about Unity Reflect because it allows everyone, technical and non-technical users, to give actionable insights and feedback, to be included in the conversations that probably they were not included before, without any limitations on training, geographic location, or device. But of course, just don't take my words for it. We have clients that are currently using Reflect and saying great things about it. Like, for example, Adam Chernick for Chop Architects mentioning that this is a game changer for the industry. So after this presentation today, we hope you're excited to try it out and that it also becomes a game changer for you. So with that, I would like to thank you, and we'll pass it back to Dexter to talk about promotion and pricing.
Thanks, guys. So before we go through the Q&A, I'd just like to mention that we currently have 2 promos. So for the first one, you can buy 5 seats of Unity Reflect and get 50% off. And for the second one, if you buy Unity Pro and Unity Reflect, you get a saving of 21%. And you can contact us via email at info@adktechnologies.com.au for more information.